How are you guys doing? Today is Monday, February 8th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to go through yesterday's performances from Sunday, February 7th, and I'm going to go through each game individually, and I'm going to preview today's games as we walk through each day, or each game of sports, one game at a time. So, starting with the NFL, it was the final game of the 2020-21 NFL season as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the fifth seed in the NFC, the top wildcard seed, were able to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, the number one team in the AFC, in the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, which was a complete coincidence. Tampa Bay was the neutral site, and they were able to win it in their home stadium. They're the first team in NFL history to do so. And within this win, Tom Brady was able to win his seventh Super Bowl just by getting Tampa Bay out to an early lead. They were up 21-6 going into the half, and they just carried that momentum going into the end of the game. In this final game of the NFL season for the Kansas City Chiefs, their elite starting quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, would complete 26 of his 49 passing attempts, throwing for 270 yards, throwing 2 picks. He also ran for 33 yards to give him 303 total yards of offense. In the last playoff game he'd lost since Tom Brady beat him 2 seasons ago, and the Chiefs were the defending champions up until now, but now the defending champions are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers until next fall. But continuing on, the leading rusher for the Chiefs was their running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, their rookie, who finished with 64 yards on 9 carries. He also had 23 yards on the air to give him 87 total yards of offense. Through the air, their leading receiver was their elite tight end, Travis Kelce, who finished with 133 yards on 10 receptions. And then their elite wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, would finish with 73 yards on 7 receptions. On the defensive side of the ball, Damian Wilson was their leading tackler as he had 10 of them on the day. Their elite defensive end, Frank Clark, would finish with 4 tackles and the only sack of the day for Kansas City. Their elite safety, Tyrann Mathieu, would finish with 3 tackles on the day as well. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the final game of the season in their second Super Bowl title, I believe, as a team. Don't take me. I think I'm about 90% sure on that one. But in this win, their goated starting quarterback, Tom Brady, would complete 21 of his 29 passes, throwing for 201 yards and 3 touchdowns. He ran for -2 yards, so he had 199 total yards of offense, but he still had the 3 touchdowns to his name. As he picked up his 7th Super Bowl win as a starting quarterback, the most ever. He has more than any other franchise in the NFL, so that's a flex in itself. For the Buccaneers, their leading rusher was Leonard Fournette, their starting running back out of LSU, who had 89 yards on 16 carries and a touchdown. He also had 46 yards through the air to give him 135 yards of total offense. Also, Ronald Jones II finished with 61 yards on 12 carries. Their leading receiver was their future Hall of Fame tight end and Tom Brady's former tight end go-to option in New England, Rob Gronkowski, who finished with 67 yards on 6 receptions and 2 touchdowns. Their elite wide receiver, Mike Evans, would have 1 reception for 31 yards. It was a very big one for them. And Antonio Brown was also able to log 22 yards on 5 receptions for a touchdown, as he was a multiple-time All-NFL first-team player. So, he's all-time player, just he himself. And then on the defensive side of the ball for Tampa Bay, their best defender was Devin White, their starting linebacker at LSU, who finished with 12 total tackles on the day, and he finished with the game-clinching interception in the final minutes of the game. Also, Antoine Winfield Jr. was able to log an interception to go along with his 6 tackles. Their elite defensive end, Jason Pierre-Paul, would finish with 3 tackles. Their defensive tackle out of Nebraska, Ndamukong Suh, would finish with 2 tackles and a sack and a half. Shaq Barrett would finish with 1 tackle. His only tackle was a sack. And with this win, Tampa Bay, they've won the final game of the season. Every other team that made the playoffs finished their season with a loss except for Tampa Bay, and Tom Brady gets to ride off into the sunset, leaving everybody on the cliff wondering whether he's going to come back the next season. But jumping really quickly to the NBA to show you what's been going on out there. Starting in Indianapolis, the Pacers hosted the Utah Jazz. And in this matchup, the Jazz would beat the Pacers 103-95 after outscoring the Pacers by 7 in the third quarter. For the Indiana Pacers in this matchup, Their starting power forward, Domantas Sabonis, would lead the team in scoring as he had 20 points and 9 rebounds, as well as 2 blocks in 34 minutes, shooting 7 for 19 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the free throw line. For the Utah Jazz, their elite starting center, Rudy Gobert, would finish with 16 points, 16 rebounds, and 3 blocks in 31 minutes, shooting 7 for 9 from the field and 2 for 9 from the free throw line. And the Utah Jazz leading scorer, and the game's leading scorer for that matter, would be the Jazz elite starting shooting guard, Donovan Mitchell, out of Louisville, who finished with 27 points, 9 rebounds, 11 assists, and a steal in 38 minutes as he shot 9 for 25 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and 5 for 5 from the free throw line. With this win, the Utah Jazz are 19-5, which is the best record in the West and the best record in the NBA for that matter. They are 1 game over the defending champion Los Angeles Lakers. And with this loss, the Indiana Pacers are 12-12, which is the 5th best record in the Eastern Conference, 5 games behind the first place Philadelphia 76ers. Jumping out to New York. The New York Knicks hosted the Miami Heat, and in this matchup, the Miami Heat, the defending Eastern Conference champions, would beat the New York Knicks 109-103. After keeping it close for most of the game, but they were able to keep the edge, keep the advantage. For the New York Knicks, their starting small forward, Reggie Bullock, would finish with 21 points and 4 steals in 31 minutes, shooting 7 for 17 from the field and 7 for 14 from 3. Their leading scorer was their starting power forward, Julius Randle, who finished with 26 points, 13 rebounds, and 7 assists in 38 minutes, shooting 10 for 18 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the free throw line. For the Miami Heat, their elite starting small forward, Jimmy Butler, would finish with 17 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists in 34 minutes, shooting 3 for 11 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, and 11 for 12 from the free throw line. Their leading scorer would be their elite center, Bam Adebayo, who finished with 24 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists in 39 minutes, shooting 10 for 17 from the field and 4 for 6 from the free throw line. With this win, the Miami Heat are 9-14, which is currently the 4th worst record in the Eastern Conference. And with this loss, the New York Knicks are 11-14 as they are sitting in the 8th place spot in the Eastern Conference, 6.5 games behind the 76ers. Jumping out to Charlotte, the Charlotte Hornets hosted the Washington Wizards, their divisional rivals, and they were able to beat them 119-97 after outscoring Washington by 14 in the second and 12 in the third. In this game for Washington, their elite starting point guard Russell Westbrook would finish with 12 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists, along with 2 blocks in 28 minutes, shooting 4 for 9 from the field and 4 for 8 from the free throw line. The Wizards' leading scorer would be their elite starting shooting guard, Bradley Beal, who finished with 31 points and 6 rebounds in 28 minutes, shooting 11 for 22 from the field, 3 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 6 for 6 from the line. For the Charlotte Hornets, their starting small forward, Gordon Hayward, would finish with 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals in 30 minutes, shooting 8 for 16 from the field and 7 for 10 from the free throw line. Their leading scorer would be their starting shooting guard, Terry Rozier, who finished with 26 points in 30 minutes, shooting 9 for 14 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the line. Additionally, for the Hornets, their elite rookie starting point guard, LaMelo Ball, would finish with 19 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists in 31 minutes, shooting 7 for 17 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the line. With this win, the Charlotte Hornets are 11-13, which is the 7th best record in the Eastern Conference. And with this loss, the Wizards are 5-15, which is the 2nd worst record in the Eastern Conference, in front of, the Detroit Pistons. Jumping out to Phoenix, the Phoenix Suns hosted the Boston Celtics, and in this one, the Phoenix Suns were able to beat the Celtics 100-91 after outscoring Boston by 8 in the first quarter and by 5 in the third. For Boston, their leading scorer would be their elite starting small forward, Jason Tatum, who finished with 23 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists in 35 minutes, shooting 8 for 22 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. Additionally, their elite starting point guard, Kemba Walker, out of UConn, would finish with 14 points, 4 rebounds, and a couple of assists in 33 minutes, shooting 4 for 20 from the field, 4 for 11 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the line. For the Phoenix Suns, Their elite starting point guard, Chris Paul, would finish with 15 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists in 33 minutes, shooting 6 for 14 from the field and a perfect 3 for 3 from the line. Their elite starting shooting guard, Devin Booker, would finish with 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 11 assists in 38 minutes, shooting 7 for 16 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the line. And the Suns' leading scorer would be their starting small forward, Michael Bridges, who finished with 19 points and 9 rebounds in 38 minutes, shooting 8 for 13 from the field, and he made his only free throw of the night. With this win, the Phoenix Suns are 13-9, which is the 4th best record in the Western Conference, 5 games behind the Jazz. And with this loss, the Boston Celtics are now 12-10, and they're 4 games behind the Philadelphia 76ers in the Eastern Conference. Jumping out to the last game of the day of yesterday, the Sacramento Kings went to the Staples Center and were able to beat the Los Angeles Clippers 113-110 in a game that went down to the very, very end. For the Los Angeles Clippers, off the bench, their leading scorer would be their shooting guard, Lou Williams, who finished with 23 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, as well as 2 steals in 29 minutes, shooting 6 for 16 from the field and a perfect 10 for 10 from the line. Their goated small forward, Kawhi Leonard, would finish with 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 assists in 35 minutes, shooting 9 for 21 from the field and 2 for 4 from the free throw line. For the Sacramento Kings, their starting shooting guard, Buddy Hield, out of Oklahoma, would finish with 22 points and 9 rebounds in 38 minutes, shooting 7 for 18 from the field and a perfect 5 for 5 from the line. And the Kings' leading scorer would be their starting point guard, De'Aaron Fox, out of Kentucky, who finished with 36 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists in 36 minutes, shooting 15 for 25 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3, and 4 for 8 from the free throw line. With this win, the Sacramento Kings are now 12-11, which is tied with the Golden State Warriors for the 8th best record in the conference. And with this loss, the Los Angeles Clippers are 7-8. They are sitting 3rd in the West, 2.5 games behind the Jazz and a game and a half behind the Lakers. Looking out to what's going on today, especially looking out to what's going on in what's going to be on prime time. At 7 o'clock, the Hornets are going to host the Rockets on NBA TV. And following that, the Nuggets are going to host the Bucks at 9:30 on NBA TV. In addition to those, the Bulls are going to host the Wizards at 8. The Grizzlies are going to host the Raptors at 8. The Mavericks are going to host the Timberwolves at 8:30. The Spurs are going to host the Warriors at 8:30. The Suns are going to host the Cavs at 9. And the Lakers are going to host the Thunder at 10. Jumping really quickly to college basketball while we're on the note. 3rd-ranked Villanova hosted unranked Georgetown and beat them 84-74 after outscoring them by 8 in the second half. Jermaine Samuels led the way for Villanova, scoring 32 points and adding 6 rebounds and 5 assists. With this win, 3rd-ranked Villanova is now 12-2 as they are 7-1 in the Big East, and with this loss, unranked Georgetown is 5-9 as they are 3-6 in the Big East. 8th-ranked Iowa went to Indiana, and Indiana was able to pull off the win as they were the unranked team against the top-ranked team. They beat them 67-65 behind Trace Jackson's 17 points and 12 rebounds. With this win, Indiana is 10-8 as they are 5-6 in the Big Ten. And with this loss, 8th-ranked Iowa is now 13-6, and they are 7-5 in the Big Ten. Last but not least, 25th-ranked Drake visited Valparaiso for the second straight game in a back-to-back, and Valparaiso was able to beat Drake by 17 points after outscoring them by 12 in the first half. Aaron Gordon would lead the way for Valparaiso with 9 points and 9 rebounds. With this win, they are 7-12 as they are 4-6 in the MVC. And with this loss, that was Drake's first loss of the season. Drake is now 18-1 as they are now 9-1 in the MVC. And then looking out to what's going on today, at 9 o'clock, unranked Maryland is going to host 7th-ranked Ohio State on FS1. 23rd-ranked Kansas is going to host unranked Oklahoma State with Cade Cunningham on ESPN at 9 o'clock. And then following that game, at 11 o'clock, unranked BYU is going to host first-ranked Gonzaga. So, of course, those are of course, games we're looking out for. Jumping out to hockey just to show you what the world of hockey is looking like at this very moment, with the power structures looking like amongst the teams. The Philadelphia Flyers are able to beat the Washington Capitals 7-4 after scoring 3 goals in both the second and third periods. Lawton was scored 3 goals for Philadelphia as Alex Ovechkin finished with 2 goals and 2 assists to account for all 4 of the goals for the Capitals. With this win, the Flyers are currently sitting second or tied with the Bruins at the top of the East Division, if we're really going to get into it. And then the Detroit Red Wings went to Miami and were able to beat the Florida Panthers 4-1 after scoring 2 goals in both the second and third periods. With this win, they are currently sitting at the bottom of the Central Division as they are 7 points from the top. The Carolina Hurricanes took on the Columbus Blue Jackets and beat them 6-5 after scoring 3 goals in the second period. With this win, the Carolina Hurricanes are sitting second, tied with the Panthers and the Blackhawks in the Central Division. The Chicago Blackhawks were able to beat the Dallas Stars 2-1 in overtime. The DeBrincats 2 goals for Chicago would be what they needed to push through. With this win, they are tied with the Panthers and the Hurricanes for second place in the Central Division. And last but not least, the Las Vegas Golden Knights hosted the LA Kings and were able to beat them 4-3 after scoring their 4th goal in the third period in order to get them a very big win out west. With this win, the Las Vegas Golden Knights are tied with the Avalanche and the Blues on top of the West Division, but that's what the NFL or the NHL is looking like as of right now. Looking forward to today's matchups. The Islanders are going to face the Rangers in that New York matchup. That's not even going to be on prime time. At 8 o'clock, the Predators are going to host the Lightning, the defending champs, on ESPN+. Those are going to be the big games. And then really quickly jumping out to soccer just to get a quick glimpse into how this past weekend finished, as we are slowly starting to ease into the domestic cup games and the international cup games. So, starting in the Premier League, Tottenham Hotspur hosted West Brom, and they were able to beat them 2-0. Their first goal will come in the 54th minute from their elite English striker, Harry Kane, and their second goal will come literally 4 minutes later from their elite Korean forward, Son Heung-min. With this win, Tottenham Hotspur is currently sitting 8th in the Premier League as they are 14 points from the top. Liverpool hosted Man City, and Man City was able to beat Liverpool 4-1. No one scored until the second half. The Mo Salah, the elite Egyptian forward for Liverpool, his penalty kick would tie it up, but then Manchester City would pull it away. Their third goal coming from their elite English forward, Raheem Sterling. Also, Chelsea went to Sheffield United and were able to pull off a 2-1 win thanks to Jorginho's penalty in the 55th minute in order to give them this win. But looking at how those three teams are shaping, Chelsea is currently sitting 6th in the table, as they are 11 points behind first place. Liverpool is sitting 4th. They are 1 point ahead of Chelsea, and they are sitting currently in Champions League position. And Manchester City is sitting at the very top of the table. They have 50 points. They have 5 more points than second place Manchester United with 1 less game played. And Manchester United is in the form of their life. Or Manchester City, I'm sorry. Man City's playing in the form of their lives. I think their last 15 games, they won all of them in the Premier League. That's how hot their run has been. And then jumping out to Italian Serie A, AC Milan, the team at the top of Serie A, was able to beat Crotone 4-0 as their first 2 goals came from their elite Swedish striker Zlatan Ibrahimovic. With this win, AC Milan is sitting once again at the top of the table by 2 points over Inter Milan. And that was the big game from that division. And then jumping out to La Liga, Barcelona went to Real Betis, and they were able to pull off a 3-2 win. Their first one coming from their goated Argentinian forward Lionel Messi to tie it at 1. And then Trincao's 87th minute goal would just be enough to give Barca the 3 points they needed to at least make a run at Atletico Madrid. They and Real Madrid are both 7 points behind Atletico Madrid, even though Atletico Madrid has played 2 less games, so the pressure still looms on Barca and Madrid to win out. In French Ligue 1, PSG was able to beat Marseille 2-0. Their first goal came from their elite French striker or elite forward, Kylian Mbappe, in the 9th minute. Then Mauro Icardi would finish up right behind that. Looking out to where they're sitting 3rd in the table as they are once again 1 point behind Lyon, and then they're 3 points behind Lille, because Lille was able to beat Nantes 2-0 as David scored both of their goals. So that's where we are sitting going into today's matchups. Starting with La Liga, Atletico Madrid is going to host Celta Vigo at 3 o'clock as Atletico Madrid, like I just said earlier, they're sitting on La Liga by 7 points comfortably over Barca and Real Madrid, but 2 less games played. And looking at where Celta Vigo is, they're 11th in the table, so there's a really good chance of Atletico Madrid being able to pad their lead or at least create some more distance between them and the other 2 contenders. And then also, it'll be a matchup at the FIFA Club World Cup as Al Ahly, the Egyptian champions, are going to face off against Bayern Munich, the German champs, or the Champions League champs. And once those games are done, I will get back to you with an episode. But once again, I want to thank everyone for listening to all 20 minutes of this piece. I'm James Sims. This is The Elite. And I want to thank you once again for following me from the first day of opening, from opening day of the shortened pandemic MLB season to Super Bowl 55. So I mean, this has been awesome. Thanks for being here for the journey. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace out.